Well, hello, friends. Welcome to the Kogo Podcast. My name is R.W. Moody. I'm the Associate State Pastor here in the state of Ohio, and you are listening to the Kogo Podcast. Now, just to remind you, the purpose of this podcast is to move leaders in the state of Ohio with bite-sized conversations about ministry, leadership, and growth. And so we would invite you in these moments to just step into your God call, to discover what it is that God wants you to learn from this conversation today, and then just to be confident in who you are as a leader. State to have with us Eric and Twila Butler. Say hello, Eric and Twila.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
good people. We're on, baby. We on.
Yeah, you are. So listen, I got to give you guys props for a minute. Like, I got on a Zoom call here. I'm expecting y'all to be just right there in the Zoom window. And here you are. You are set up with like microphones in your faces. It is awesome. You are stepping it up, friends.
Listen, we have one of the most amazing young men that works for First Church of God. And he does a lot of things across the city of Toledo. And he's amazing. And he's an elder over at First Church of God. His name is Lewis Newsom. And to give a shout out to him, he's amazing. And he's done all of this. We asked if he could be a part. He said, just come on over to the podcast setup. We'll make it look like you worth something. So we're here looking like we're worth something.
Well, Lewis, I don't know if you can hear us or not, but thank you for being a part of this and getting Eric and Twila all set up with this fancy equipment. I'm just blown away by your equipment. Like, man, all right.
Excellence. Always do things in excellence as best you can, you know?
That's right. Well, listen, I know who you are, and there are several people who listen to the podcast who know you guys are, but just for those who don't, for the sake of our listeners, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you guys live, and what capacity you're serving in this moment. So I'll let Twila go ahead and start with you.
All right. Well, I am Twila Butler. I am not from Ohio. I do not like this cold weather. I don't like anything about it, but I'm here on doing the Lord's work. Okay. And, but I am from Texas, born and bred and raised in the Church of God. I mean, you know, some people care about that kind of stuff, but I am third generation on both sides of my family.
Okay.
And I just absolutely love what we stand for. We've been married for 26 years.
Wow.
And we have been moved from a bunch of different places and are now here in Toledo, Ohio. And so currently I serve as a member of the Ohio State Board in this region. So we're just excited to be able to be here and to be able to represent everybody, because that's who I represent, everybody.
Yeah, well, I would appreciate that. All right, Eric, give it up.
I am Eric Butler Sr. I am so excited to be here. I am from Akron, Ohio, so I'm home. I did go to school at Bay Ridge Christian College, where I met my beautiful wife of 26 years. Her dad was our president. You'll hear a little bit about that. And like she said, we've been married 26 years. I know it don't look like it. We only look like 27, 28 years old. So we got married really, really, really early. So God has been tremendous to us. And we're here. We served as the senior pastor here at First Church of God. We're no longer there. We're serving now. Like Twila said, I'm supporting her as God is opening up new doors for her, waiting for next steps for us. So we're excited to be here, man, and a part of the Ohio ministries.
Well, we are glad to have you guys here in the podcast. I had to say to you, Twila and Eric, both of you, as you were talking about Texas stuff, like, I don't know if y'all know this. I think Twila does. My family served at Parkgate Community Church.
Oh, I didn't know that.
For 11 years. And so Texas, the Houston area is very close to our hearts. As a matter of fact, our family, my wife and I and our daughter, are going back to Houston this summer a couple times. So we're excited about going back to H-Town and with people. So
absolutely.
A Texas connection. You can't beat it.
Yes, sir. So when I see you now, I know we got the Texas connection.
That's right. So tell me, just right off the bat, you know, we're all about discipleship here in Ohio. We're really trying to embrace that. So what does it mean for you guys to be a follower of Jesus Christ?
Whew. So for me, I am just elated to be able to know somebody like Jesus. Like, I feel like, if you had to know anybody, if you could, like, the man, and I just appreciate that. And I also just appreciate his presence and how he continues to keep showing himself to me. And in that, there's a response that has to happen, right? Like, for your life. Out of that comes this place, kind of like the woman at the well, like, out of this place of, I'm getting to know you and you're getting to, like, I got to go tell somebody else, like, and so for me, it's constantly being able to show people just through our everyday lives. You don't have to be big and boastful about it, but discipleship is the way that we treat one another, the way that we go through our day, the way that we deal with perspective from other people, and how they get to in turn see our perspective. So I'm thankful that God is always present with me, that I can move through that, right, and be able to show people his love.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm so excited when you talk about discipleship, because first it starts with personal relationship, right?
Yeah.
Discipleship has everything to do with relationships. And when you have your own personal relationship with God, that relationship should cause you to tell somebody else about that relationship, right? And I think that's what discipleship is. What discipleship really means to me is we all get a seat at the table. We all get a chance to represent God in our own special way.
Yes.
We bring our own experience to the table to say, my experience may not be like yours, but it's mine. And it causes me to go out and share, and not just share, but to go out and make others. Right. And I think it becomes perpetual, but empowers us that no one's greater than anybody else. The call to everyone that he says, go out and make other you. Go out and make disciples, right?
Yes.
Go out and tell my story. Go out and tell our relationship. So discipleship, man, means everything to me, because like Twila said, I get to tell about somebody that I know that changed my life immensely, that accepted me,
absolutely,
where I was, who I was, and made me become who I am today. What greater story to tell?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, the relationship aspect of our faith and our belief and our pursuit of Jesus is such an important element for us to know how to tell, know how to live, and know how to share.
Yeah, there you go.
Just such an important thing. So how has your discipleship journey, how has that influenced you guys to disciple other people to know and grow in Christ?
So I'm going to go first.
Okay.
Because you got to flip the camera back over here. So I'm going to go first on this.
Good job, Lewis.
There you go. Lewis, be on it. Well, I tell you, for me, my journey was such that I went to Bay Ridge Christian College, which is one of the schools for our movement. It's not in existence right now, but it was then. And when I got there, I got a chance to not just meet other people like me, but I got a chance to really find my calling. Right. It's there that I found my purpose. It's there where I found my calling, but it was there that it was matured. And I think from that, it just made me realize, become, and experience it more in a way that it became real to me. And when anything becomes real to you, nobody can tell you what you know. And I think for me, that experience has become who I am today. I am all because of the experience that I even had down there. I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to come back.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Tag,
you're it. So, yeah. So, for me, a lot like a lot of church guide kids, we are church children. We we don't know a lot about a lot of other things, right? And so my testimony has been that I have been kept.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Gotcha.
I've been kept. I didn't have all of these experiences, maybe like other people.
Do not call me out.
She did, man.
On podcasts,
But
everybody.
he kept me from having to have those experiences.
Yeah.
And that is my testimony. And
Absolutely.
so as a result, my deposit into the world comes from a place of just knowing that Jesus is awesome.
Yeah.
Just knowing that Jesus is amazing. Just knowing that I can trust him at his word. That's the place that I, get to come from. Now, of course, along the ways, there's been, some bumps and bruises where I've had to delve in and I've had to really get to know him. But it hasn't been out of that whole deep, miry clay kind of place. It's been out of that. I've always known about him, but when I got to know him. And so when we get to share that with other people, again, very much like I think I said just a minute ago, we try to live an everyday life that just simply says to other people, there's something different about them. Like they go through life moving differently than the rest of us. And what is that? And then to come and find out that it's the spirit that dwells in us. It's the, the way that we go through our normal everyday practice, draws people in a different way to our life and to our ministry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I also think that, and that's why I let her jump in, because her testimony is that she's been kept. My testimony is that I was saved as I was being kept. There were so many times that I can look back that I should not be here, but because the Lord kept me in the midst of my foolishness, because there are things that if I would tell somebody some of my story, it was, how are you still here? And her kept is different than my kept. Her kept was God kept her from things. My kept is God kept me through things. And so both of them are so valuable. And I think we bring both those things to the table that we can really, like, I appreciate her being kept, that there are some things that she never knew about. And there's some things I, even now in our marriage, I had to protect her from, like, hey, no,
I don't want to know that.
We can't do that because this may be the consequence because, she don't know it.
Right.
My testimony is in the midst of it, through it, God kept. Yeah. Same keeping power, but different grace of being kept. Right. And I think that's what makes our ministry so drawn off of one another and so unique. Yeah. I think that's a good word, unique.
You guys, I love that use of that word in both of your contexts, because I think like for you, Twila, it paints the picture of the story of other church friends who that's all they know.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a youth pastor, one day, one student, we were talking about sharing your story or, telling your faith. And I remember her saying to me, RW, I don't have a story. I'm born and raised in the church and yada, yada, yada. And again, just like you, Twila, that was her story, but she didn't know how to embrace that.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we take to go with your kept, Eric, like we take the off the cliff kind of kept, and we feel like that's the only way that that story can connect with people. But there are people who are on both ends of that continuum. So I really appreciate your guys' use of that word, again, in different contexts.
Yeah. And I think we have to do a better job in honoring that side of being kept.
Absolutely.
Because we so much give God glory for bringing us through. But listen, sometimes you better thank God for the things he kept you from.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we don't do a good enough job for thanking God's grace power of being kept away from things, shielded.
Yes.
Right. And I think we got to do a better job in teaching that.
That is so challenging, Eric. Thank you for saying that. That's a good challenge for us. So I appreciate you guys sharing a little bit about your discipleship journey. And this episode of the podcast is dropping right during Black History Month. And we
Yeah.
want to kind of honor you guys and your background and your family and your heritage. And I just got a few questions, like yeah, if that makes sense. Yeah,
Let's go.
Hey, let's get it. Like, let's get it. I feel you.
So-
Let's get it.
So what's the significance of this month to you guys as African Americans as a leader in the Church of God? Well, how does that relationship connect for you?
Wow. So, as I stated before, this is all I know is the Church of God. And I know that it is rich. And I have had the opportunity to be a part of something great in my life. My father was Dr. Percy L. Lewis, and he was one of the first students to enroll in Bay Ridge Christian College, which was started in the South for to prepare Black ministers for the South. And it was started by a gentleman, Horace Germany, who was a white man from Mississippi. And he laid it all on the line for that calling and what it is that God called him to. And I up understanding the sacrifice that he made. I called him my grandfather, because forever he was one of the only people that I really knew in that capacity. And being able to then come full circle to where my father then came back to be the president of this school. Again, deep heritage with that ability to bring people together, to be able to be those disciples, to be able to be those strong leaders that we see in our Church of God movement. And so when I answered the call on my own life, just to know that I joined the ranks with some amazing people who have come before me, who were friends with my father, and I knew them not just from a pulpit standpoint, but I knew them on a couch at dinner, in their living room. And to just know that these people never wavered in their faith to God. They were strong. They were adamant about that. And they were convinced that they were going to see the King. Okay. There's no other question. They were living their life to live again. And so as an African American, this month does allow me to feel such pride in my culture, what it is that I have known. But again, what means the most to me probably is my church culture, is because it's all I ever have been around. And so I'm just thankful for the people that have been a part of my life, the places that have been a part of my life, and how I feel like they have all built me into who I am today.
Yeah, I share almost the same type of testimony that this month means a lot to my family personally. My grandfather was one of the first NAACP pastors in Ohio. He actually did President Jimmy Carter's inaugurational prayer when he got installed as his inauguration for the presidency. And when my grandfather passed away, I remember sitting there with my mom, and President Jimmy Carter came and presented my mom a flag, which I have at my house right now today. And my grandfather was a chaplain, and just to know his love for Christ, but his love for people. And I think it gives me a great honor to know that I serve not a religion, I serve not a denomination, but I serve a movement that my grandfather would be so excited about, that I'm serving a movement, and I try to serve this movement with integrity, with the African American culture, that I don't just bring it half-heartedly. I don't just bring a piece of it, but I bring excellence into not just my family who I represent, but our culture, into who we are. And it makes us appreciate each other more when you appreciate where you've come from, but you appreciate where we can go together. And I think that's what means the most to me this month, that I represent something greater than I say this all the time with my wife. I stand on the shoulders of some amazing giants. I can call out some giants that we stand on the shoulders of. And I think when you realize whose shoulders you stand on, it gives you a different perspective to look out. And discipleship becomes easier, better, but it comes more important because you know that you've not gotten here on your own.
Yeah.
You guys, before we hit record, we were talking a little bit about Black History Month. And Eric, you mentioned about the whole idea of when we're in heaven, you know, we're going to be in this congregation that is together, and there's unity because of relationship with Jesus. And I wish we could figure out how, and I'm speaking as the choir. Okay. I'm preaching to myself. Sure. I wish we could figure out how to do it better, like how we could do relationships cross-culturally better, especially in the life of the church. I mean, sometimes I feel like the walls in the church are bigger than outside.
Right.
And I just appreciate your guys' authenticity and your genuineness, and just what you said about, listen, it's my culture, but it's about who I'm serving. And those are the intersections that are important. So, you know, those cross-cultural relationships can be really difficult.
Yeah.
What do you guys see us doing well in the Church of God, and what do we need to improve on?
I'm gonna go second because I'm gonna shake it a little bit. So I'm gonna let the nice voice go first.
I think definitely our doctrine is something that we should be proud of. The thoroughness that we take in making sure that we are prepared people to meet the Lord and prepared people to be able to go out and to make other disciples. I think that is something that we should be very proud of.
Yes.
I think one of the things that we still need to work on is definitely that unity piece, and what that looks like in all of its grandeur. And so my father was a little bit ahead of his time. We had a multicultural church in Texas, in Rockport, Texas. When that wasn't common, we lived in a small town where it was probably 2% maybe African American, where we had more of an Anglo and more of a concilio merge upon our church. And I remember growing up, my father made Anderson important. My birthday is June 19th. I don't think I celebrated my birthday at home until I was almost 17. I was there every year. But also by the end of the summer, we were in West Middlesex for the National Association. And so I grew up with a different respect for both sides that I wish more people had. I wish more people would come to West Middlesex and see and experience that hill. I don't know what it is about that hill. Every time we go up there, the first thing I do is cry as soon as we get there. Like, it's just, it feels like Jesus. Like, it feels like Jesus has been there. I know he has walked on that hill. I don't know.
What are you crying for?
Every time I cry. But I can't wait to go back to Anderson this year. I haven't felt that feeling of being in Anderson for camp meeting like that in such a long time. But somewhere, somebody's going to miss one of those experiences. Somebody's not going to have the same type of excitement that I feel. And so I wish we had this heart issue, because that's what it is. I wish we had this heart issue figured out, because this heart issue would already have an answer to what we need to do.
All right. So she gave y'all a nice answer. So let me just put it into the retrospect of where I really she said it very nice, and that's my wife. She says things, so polite, and so I'm gonna just be a little bit more direct.
Go for it.
Our greatest strength, I believe, is unity. We are not a denomination. We are a movement, right? We are a movement moving towards the will of God. And I think our greatest strength is unity. We've called to every blood washed one, right?
Yeah.
So when you say we reach our hand of fellowship to every blood washed one, then that takes out your sex, it takes out your color, your religion, your nationality. It removes all of that, right? And I think that's our greatest strength. Our greatest strength is also our greatest weakness.
Agree. Yes. Yes.
And I say that because until I have the perfect answer. She said, change your heart. Let me just tell you, I have the greatest answer to this. Like, I came with an answer. I didn't just come with the problem. I came with a solution. And here's what I've been saying for the last, I think, about 10 years. Until the Church of God get rid of the A, the B, and the C, we will always be a movement moving in 3 different directions.
Yes. Yes.
Until we come together and say there's no A, there's no B, there's no C, there's just the movement of the Church of God Reformation movement, then you'll find a movement all moving in the same direction. My fear is that we are a movement moving in 3 different directions. Anderson is moving in the direction that they're going in. West Middlesex is moving in the direction they're going in, which is the B. The Concilio is moving in the direction where they believe God is called. And so it causes an automatic division when we don't even know there's division. There has to become a place where, like she said, the Anderson, West Middlesex, and the Concilio have a place where we all come together. I said it before we come on, because some of us, not us, but some folks, not me, because I'm pretty sure what it's looking like. But people, when they get to heaven, they're going to be real uncomfortable, because it's not going to look like church, and it's not going to look like where you worship. It's not going to look like, for me, it's not going to sound and look like an African-American church, though that's my preference.
Yeah.
It's going to look multicultural, because God is a multicultural God. Until we figure that out, when we can bring the A, the B, and the C and say, there's no such a thing. Yeah. God didn't call the Church of God to have an A, the B, and the C. He called us to be a movement moving towards the will of God at the same time, same place, same direction.
So I think I just, my marketing mind just kind of sparked. So I think I have a new project that we should go under for unity. It should just say D, all of the above. And so I think if we could get to D, if we're going to have A, B, and C, if we could just get to D and the answer be all of the above, I think ultimately, God will be pleased with what it is we're doing. So go ahead and make that happen.
Go ahead and make that happen.
In the Church of God. Yeah.
Church,
a project, all of the things. D, all of the above.
I as I'm sitting here listening to you, you're both Eric and Twila, like, one of the things that keeps resonating in my mind is this whole idea of, we talked about this earlier, relationship. What would it look like for us in Ohio to just be super intentional with our relationships with the A, B, and C, whether it's just sitting down with coffee and getting to know one another? I mean, I had you guys had the questions that I sent you for this conversation. And the last one is, why is it important for relationships to exist? I mean, you all have basically said it, because we need one another.
Right.
We can figure out how to get along with each other. We need to figure out how to make the movement exist together versus in 3 parts. And so, listen, I just want you to know, I appreciate your efforts to, and as Black History Month, to be intentional about that community of faith, that community of culture. And I'm going to tell you right now, if there's a way that we can have coffee in the midst of this month, just to sit down and hear stories about Houston and stories about life, let's make that happen. And what would it look like if in our state, if leaders were intentional to do that together, I mean, there would be some incredible transformation that would bleed into our congregations and bleed out from there in incredible ways. So there's our challenge, right?
Yeah, and it has to start with the leaders, right?
Yeah.
Because sheep are led by shepherds, right? By leaders, and when leaders deem it to be important, to sit at the table of relationship, the sheep will follow. It's only important. My wife used to say all the time, it's only important to me if you make it important to me, right?
Yeah.
So at what point as leaders do we need to make it important? There's a question. I got this written down when you sent it. One of the questions I said I want to leave for thought was this. And I wrote this down. I want you to listen to this. When we look back on our journey, there's two questions that will come about that I think we're going to be held accountable to with God. One is, are you going to have regrets on what I did in this movement? Are you going to have regrets on what I did in this movement, right? And then the other one is, are you going to have regrets for what I did not do in the time I had? And I think what you're saying, and I think, I think this is coming together, because when you talk about relationships, how intentional are we going to be? Because I don't want to have a regret when I stand before God and he said, I gave you a platform to start reconciliation. Even if you're planting the seed, even if you're getting the thought, I gave it to you guys. I gave you a platform and you dropped the ball and I had to give it to somebody else. I don't want to have regret to say, Lord, I let you down on that. Right? But I also don't want to have a regret for what I didn't do. Right? If God gave us this thought, he gave us this thought for this time, this season, and we ought to do something about it. So we're more than excited. We're more than happy to figure out how we can get to all of the above. And I think Ohio is, I think I'm right by saying this, we're one of the biggest districts, are we not? One of
We are one of the biggest states,
We're one of the biggest states. And I think that we have an obligation to lead with excellence, and so people can see something to look at. How do we start that?
Recently we of course are not at our church that we originally started here with, but we went to one of our regional meetings, and in that meeting I just I let the other churches of our region know that, hey, right now I am free. I have hands and I have ideas and I have, a place in my heart that says maybe there's something that you need done and you just need an extra pair of hands. Maybe you need, somebody to filter some things for you. I have extra time, and I just want to make myself available to you. And out of that came the opportunity for us to serve at Northwood while their pastor was sick. And we were there for about 5-6 weeks ministering there in their pulpit, and the fellowship that has come out of that is amazing. Like we're there for the spaghetti dinners, we're there for the morning breakfast, and they're calling us and saying, hey, this is what's happening. We want you to be there. We also were able to, go to our church in Wauseon, and I spoke there. But it's all from just saying I'm available, right? And so I think what would it look like? It would look like us all saying I'm available. It would look like when we start planning things that we don't just go to our normal 5 people that we're familiar with.
5 churches.
It looks like us not just looking within the perspective that we have, but looking at what is available as a resource to us. We should be resources to one another. And so as a result, I think we have to start thinking different. My husband says a lot of times, he says, your greatest blessing is probably right outside of your comfort zone. And so if you're staying in this box with I'll use you as an example with who you invite to speak at the next conference and the next convention and the next planning meeting. If I don't bring you into a planning meeting for NIYC, if I don't merge the two and understand what activities look good for your youth and what activities would look good for us, and merge those together and really have workshops, really have things where we really are training one another. Your resources need to become my resources. My resources need to become your resources. And so I think when we just decide to say, I'm not just extending my hand to every blood wash one. I'm extending my resources, my time, my talents, my all to all of my brotherhood to be able to be better for the kingdom. Like that's the end of it. Like we can't be better apart. Everybody says you're better together. So I feel like if we figure what that is, again, this heart issue that keeps us from not being able to cross over, if we get that figured out, I think it'll be great.
Yeah. You guys, I've been super challenged by this conversation today. And I mean, as you guys are talking, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I need to do better as a leader. And so thank you for like just being real and being authentic and just kind of like pushing the button, if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I totally appreciate you guys. I think some of the nuggets of wisdom that you have dropped in this episode, in this conversation, can totally help us if we're intentional to build the relationship together.
Yeah.
That is the word. Yeah.
So as I said, let's find some time to have some coffee.
I'm with it.
To know one another better and do what we can to build the kingdom in a better place. But Eric, Twila, thank you so much for, again, being our guest today on the podcast. We bless you. We pray for your direction, that God would open up another door for you.
In the name of Jesus.
And that we want that to happen here in Ohio. So let's figure out how we can do that. Friends, we hope that you've been challenged by some of the things that Eric and Twila have been saying. And honestly, to go back to what Eric said as we conclude this episode of the Kogo Podcast, it's all about how we can relate together. It's all about how we as followers of Jesus Christ can figure out how to work together and know one another so that our movement can continue to do some great things. So Eric and Twila Butler, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. We appreciate you so much.
Friends, as you listen this month, we hope that you're challenged and encouraged through what's going to be displayed on the podcast. But until the next time we drop an episode, we'll see you soon.